it's never been a problem as of now.
Good afternoon, everybody. We're in Chazy, New York for this program called What's Going On Here. We're going to do a little program about Chazy, certain parts of Chazy. My name is Bob Venn. Calvin Castine has the camera. And we've got 6 people along this table. We'll start right off first with the historian for the town of Chazy, the new historian. And your name, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Marie Gannett, and I was appointed new historian in January, and have I got a lot to learn.
Who appoints you?
The town
The
supervisor.
town board?
The town supervisor, and then the board approves or disapproves. We have so much to thank for Mrs. Sullivan, because she has fortune in research material, and to Edith Sullivan Moss, her daughter, who kept it up until illness has slowed her down. So I'm going to take care of this until she's able to either come back.
We'll move along, but tell us first of all, you weren't always Gannett. What was your? Did they know you better by another name?
Laramie.
Laramie. That's a big name in around Chazy. A long time.
Yeah, big. They're all big.
Oh, now you're. No, I'm gonna have to talk about me like that now. All right, the next gentleman here with his arms folded. Your name? Yeah, you're next.
Mike McQuinney.
Hey, tell us a little bit about Mac McQuinney.
Well, I have lived in Chazy all my life. I've got one spot I can stand on the street in front of my house, and I can see the 3 places I've lived since I was 4 years old. And I've just retired, and I'm working harder than I did before, trying to get the place cleaned up. And I don't know, went to school here.
Okay, so you're here because you know a lot about the school, and you're going to
No,
be
not
talking.
necessarily, but Marie thought I did.
Okay, we're going to be talking about the Chazy Central Rural School and what it is.
Chazy what?
What did I say?
Central.
What did I say?
Clinton.
You're right. I want to see if you're listening, Maria. That's right. Chazy Central Rural School and
CCR, better known as CCRS.
CCRS, the heart of the county, right up here in the northern tip.
Yes.
Formerly with that your building supplies,
Yeah,
McQuinney.
Retired, we had a building supply material business going on for 42 years, I guess it was. And we retired as of the 1st of this year.
Okay, we've had a special with him, if you've seen it, with his old tools, which I assume he's not getting rid of.
That's right.
And next to him is his wife, and your name?
Esther. I was Esther LeBaire McQuinney.
Another name from Chazy. You were also a native Chazy person.
No, I didn't know.
Ellenberg?
Ellenberg Center.
Oh, that's where the Bears are too. All right.
But she was born in Chazy.
She was born in
Born in
Chazy.
Chazy.
Uh-huh.
Came back to live.
Historical marker down on the lake shore.
Well, tell us now. You also went to school here. No, you went to school here, and many years sang or played the organ in the church locally, Presbyterian. How many years?
40.
40 years. Yeah, we saw that in the paper just recently.
And I came back after we were married. I taught here in Chazy.
Okay.
Chazy School.
We'll be talking with you a little bit later. And the next lady here, who is smiling at me, is
I'm not sure.
yeah, you welcome. It's great.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I was
Gordon.
born and brought up here, and I went to school here. I went to Plattsburgh for a while, and then returned to school to work in the principal's office. Stayed there for 30 years, retired, and living and having a wonderful time.
Could we call you a secretary? Were you secretary, an administrative assistant? What was your title?
Just secretary.
Just secretary. All right. The man next to you is arm folded like he's really repelling me right away. Is your name?
Paul Sanger.
Tell us a little bit about Paul.
Well, I was born and raised here in Chazy too. And I've been here all my life except for the time that I've been away at school. And where I met my wife Katie. And we moved back here and now own Plattsburgh Garden Center.
Okay. And you're still active at the school in some capacity?
I volunteer now and again.
Okay. And
I'm Nancy Powers Vesco, and I grew up here, went to school here, and I'm living here now and work with the Lions Club with my husband, chaperoning dances at the school and enjoying being back to town.
Lions do a lot for this school. They have their winter weekend break. I think the children love and appreciate the Lions Club.
It's fun.
And we see it on TV too. Calvin's there putting it on.
That's right.
So, all right, we've been all around the table. My name is Bob Venn. I'm from Champlain, New York, but I was living just down the road in the town of Champlain, but should have come to school at Chazy. But when I was here in 1944 to 46, I didn't come to school here because there were no athletic teams at that time, but I'm very close to Chazy and very close to the Chazy people. My sister graduated from here. She did attend here for 3 years and loved the Chazy school, and it's another nice school. So now we're going to get back to Marie. And Marie, what have you got in mind for telling us how this school started? A little bit about the background.
I hope I can read it. It's first the New York school system laid out by Governor Clinton in 1795. And the first district was laid out in Chazy April 8, 1813 at Chazy Landing. Second district was in Chazy Village. In 1818 there were 10 districts in the town of Chazy. Different little one-room schoolhouses. The school districts were laid out by the commissioners, and each town had an equal amount to receive from the state, but the town had to equal this amount of dollars, combined taxes. And the children were between the ages of 5 and 15 years of age. To qualify for public money, each district maintained a school for 4 months and could have school longer if each locality could provide extra monies to pay the teachers. The commissioners examined each of these teachers for their qualifications and their certificates. And for instance, Julia Kingsley taught 18 weeks and she received $1.75 a week, which is a total of $31.50. So as a meeting of Reverend Mott, who was the Presbyterian minister, I believe, and William Minor, discussed the building of the new school. And Mr. Minor, at that time being the 8th richest man in the United States, agreed to build the school.
Can we stop right just a second? The 8th richest?
Man.
I never had man. Were there women with money too? Don't when you say man, I figured we left the women
This is
out.
the record that he was the
Okay,
8th richest.
okay, that's just, I never had heard that before, and I just wanted to bring that out a little bit. 8th richest man, yes?
Yes, in the United States, for the development of the coupling and also the refrigerator doors that are on trains.
Uh-huh.
So at the time of the building of the new CCRS, they investigated which plan of education they would use. So they used the Gary plan from Gary, Indiana, teaching. Now maybe Esther can straighten me out if I'm wrong anywhere along here. They voted 466 to 22 to adopt this plan. And the first dean was Reverend Mott of the school. The ground was broken November 23rd, 1915 for the Chazy School. And in 1917, William Minor became the president of the Board of Education. And the school cost upward of $2 million. And Chazy had $17 million at the time to put towards this school. And then each year they had the taxpayers in the whole town was required to collect $7,500 to provide assistance to the school. And the first door opened on September 6, 1916, with first 2 floors opened. And the remainder of the children went to the old Chazy school, which was now Grey Gables. The land was purchased from Harvey Fisk for $3,000. 11 districts were consolidated at this time. When the school opened, there was little, if any, hard roads in the area. So they had to have the old horse-drawn school buses, which we have pictures of right on here.
Okay.
And in the wintertime, they would take the wheels off and put runners on. But these school buses were very skinny and tall, and they tipped easy. So a lot of the farmers that were driving these school buses decided to use their flat wagon boxes instead, which would lower to the ground, put benches along the side, straw on the bottom, buffalo robes, and they went out in the country and brought the children in that way instead. The hard roads that were to get into was they used the mules from the minor farm, because mules have more pulling strength than the horses. And many of the drivers abandoned these buses due to the tipping of them. No one was ever killed, but one driver was critically hurt when they tipped over on him. But no child was ever hurt. in the school buses. I remember tipping over in the school bus.
I realize you're a historian just for a few months, several months. And I don't want to ask you any questions. So if you don't know them, just say you don't know them. It's not an embarrassing thing. But one thing else, you're also into genealogy, so you're not completely foreign to histories of some kind.
No.
$2 million for a building in 1915 is an awful lot of money.
Do you realize the building that they put up?
Well, I do, but I had no idea it would cost that much. When you think of what schools cost in 41 in Champlain, I think it was less than 200,000 or something like that in dollars in 41. That was 1915. What an expense!
But it was all Italian marble. The everything was copper back there. The pipes were copper back then.
Yeah, but I don't know if you picked it up, but when Marie was mentioning while it was being built, went to the #1 school of the district was right here. It was right here on Main Street, just about 200 feet to the south, or 150 feet south of where we are. We're in the old Presbyterian Methodist Church. Excuse me. We're in the old Methodist Church here on Main Street. This is the building that is now still in front of the Gray Gables. Mr. Miner raised it, put the dormers on it, but I never realized when I saw the Gray Gables that it was originally school #1. We're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. We're talking with the people from Chazy Central Rural School, CCRS.
CCRS.
We're back, and as you know, we're on rehearsed, and if there are some errors given, someone will hear it and mention it, and Calvin picked one up as we were talking, and that's about you said $17 million? 17,000.
People in Chazy wouldn't know what 17 million were then.
You realize one more of those and you're finished for the afternoon?
I hope so.
And you can do it intentionally? Huh? We're in the former Methodist Church, which is now the town offices. And your office as a historian is upstairs in this building?
It'll be brought down in this room in October.
Okay, and many of these items are from
Historian's
office.
Esther brought some more.
Just the items, not the people. Just the items are from the historian's office, except this one person.
Yeah,
but we also mentioned Max started to tell me a little story about the buses and things as we were off, and I decided, wait, and now you can tell us for the first time. What were you going to tell us about the buses?
Well, I never happened to ride in a bus. I always lived in the village here. But up at the Miner farm now, there's a room where they got a lot of antiques, and they got one of the old horse-drawn buses up there. And it was very similar to of these here.
Let me hold this up here just.
That's got the sleighs on it now, but I mean they had wheels on it. And
That's a better.
well, but
You can see the runners on the bottom of it here.
this is one where they have just a box on there.
But we'll get, you're still on
And they
this one,
tip
Calvin?
over.
But on those, Bob, I understand that they used to be heated with charcoal. They had a charcoal heater under the front seat. There was ducts that came along underneath the rows of seats, there was a row on each side, that would bring back heat to the kids that were sitting there, which I always thought was quite a unique system of providing heat for them.
Yep. And of course, you couldn't have that on the open ones you were talking about with the straw and the buffalo robes.
No.
You know, but now here, I guess, is one of the ones you're talking about. That's
Because
correct.
those were so tippy.
So this is the one they used to use when they pick up the children, when they thought the other one was too tippy.
Right. A lot of times you used to
All
take
right.
shortcuts through the fields.
And here's the bus with the wheels on. I think if you saw the story we did up in Miner, up at the farm, we showed you one of the buses, and we did see some of the runners that were on the wall and what they went. And this is, of course, it's taken at the farm.
Solid rubber tires on those.
Solid rubber. They were glad to get to school.
And so were a lot of the drivers because that charcoal seat got hot.
You got to remember, any school bus driver gets locked in a building in an item like that with all the noise of the kids, and that's got to be a tough job, worth more than $1.75 a week that
Yes.
the teachers got back then.
Well, I don't think they made that much, the drivers.
No, they didn't at the time, no. Anything else you want to mention about that?
No, that was what I
Okay.
always thought that tell everybody about the charcoal heating, because I thought that was quite unique.
Very much. And you can see it up there, that unit we saw when we were there. Now, someone also mentioned, we were off camera, that someone not paying any taxes. Now, what did you mean not paying taxes in the Chazy district?
The story I had heard, that when Mr. Minor consolidated the districts, I wasn't around here at that time, but I was told that he informed the people that they wouldn't have to pay any more taxes than what they were paying with these one-room schoolhouses and so forth in the area. Now, how true it is, I don't know.
Right in front of the school, right out here, is a state marker, it's a state of New York marker, Chazy Central. This marker is to signify that Chazy School was the first central school in the state of New York and the United States, November 14th, 1916. And you mentioned it opened its doors on September 6th, 1916. And that's right, is this on Main Street?
Right across the street.
Right out here across on Main Street.
The school
And there you can see the new school and behind it in this picture.
I found this right here.
Okay,
It said each year the taxpayers will be required to pay a 7,500 tax,
75 miles.
7,500
Total.
The school.
and then Minor paid an awful lot of taxes. He subsidized most of the school. I remember when we lived over there, and we paid a school tax here, even though we were in the town of Champlain.
It wasn't very much.
It sure wasn't. No, it was,
Not like
you know.
now.
We
no.
built our house 41 years ago. And I hate to say this in case the assessor wants to come back and get some more money out of me, but our first school taxes were $19.95.
For the year, yeah.
Not that now.
No? All right, well, okay, now what have you got in mind, Marie? You got the school open now September 6th. What was the next thing that you can tell us about the school? Well, first of all, she also brought, there was this sheet, obviously, 1915, a little booklet that was the proposed consolidated rural school to be erected in the town of Chazy with the consent and cooperation of the University of the State of New York. And then the citizens voted for it.
Yes.
And it was 400 and something to 25, very few, 22?
466 to 22.
Okay, it would be located on the Fisk lot. Anybody know who Mr. Fisk was?
He was from New York City, but they came from Vermont to New York State.
Was there any buildings on that property, do you know, prior to, do you know that?
I don't know, but the Fisk property was where Dr. Clark's home is now, was the Fisk home. And there was a farm there, and when my father bought the Fisk farm, there was 98 acres in it. But it was called the Fisk farm.
All right.
Look on the back, that's yours.
This is what Esther McQuarrie just gave me. This is what it represents?
Well, that's, look,
That's taken from the top of the
The
school.
top of the school looking
cool.
Down.
toward the lake?
So you,
No,
there wasn't much.
well, towards the lake's right down here. That's,
Yes.
That's Lake Champlain. This is where Bob Lapierre lives over here.
Oh, right over,
The
okay, so
pharmacist,
looking
and
more in the northerly
Joe-
direction.
Joe Rada lives there.
Yep,
And
okay.
that's a road that goes down to the lake.
Goes to the lake, and the Catholic Church is just over
Right.
here to the left.
Right.
And this was, now there's a roller, I don't know if they were rolling the snow so that
That's what they used to roll the snow instead
instead
of
of removing it, they just pack it,
pack it.
then drive on top of it. We did this view like this when we were there, but not on this building, with Mr. Forsh up on the, that's the time that I was I wasn't scared as you people are today. I was on this building up there, I'm not a height person, and we got some great views. Nice old pictures, taken January 23rd, 1917. But while we're at it, the historian's office is always looking for new material.
Oh, yes.
If anybody out there has something they want to tell them, they're right there.
If anyone has any material at all they'd like to donate to the Historian's Room, it will be marked with a donation, and we're having a book, what you gave and what you donated.
Okay. And it don't have to be anything to do with the school. Anything in the town of Chazy, which includes West Chazy, Scioto, the complete
Right,
area.
the town of Chazy.
Okay.
Could be loaned?
It can be loaned.
It's the best place in the world to know that it'll be always maintained.
Always kept.
Always kept right here. All right. From there, Marie, what happened? They moved all the children over there.
They started to build a school. There's a picture, some of those pictures is where the school was being constructed.
Under construction, but they were school buses, so it must have been still building
See
it.
it right there?
Okay, while they were having school in this section, they were still building
There.
the other. You can see where they,
Right.
this is 1916,
And that's the towers going up.
and there were 5 or 6 stories up to the top where you had your lunchroom. How many?
6.
Six,
Six
yes.
stories.
The elevator used to get stuck once in a while.
Did you like that?
No,
You had longer lunch hour.
yes.
I've often thought about when you look
There's
at
5 stories with the bell tower 71 feet higher than its roof. This tower
with the
contains
scaffolding that's showing on there, and there are some pictures where the whole school was scaffolded. I imagine it took as much time to scaffold a place like that than it would be to build a place nowadays.
But the masons were mostly Italians brought into here. That's when John Rawle came and Mr. de Gregory, because they were master masons.
Now, of course, the big thing about the Chazy School, the old school, was the clock tower,
Yes.
which you can see in this picture. The clock was on all 4 sides, and you approached Chazy from any direction,
You know what
and
time it was.
you knew exactly what time, and you knew exactly where it was coming
It
from.
was 71 feet higher than in the roof of that building.
And a great view.
And this tower contained a carillon of 40 tons of bells and 4 clock faces, each over 10 feet across.
40 tons.
Yes, 40 tons of bells and 4 clock faces, each over 10 feet across.
My sister, Ramona, who went to school here, and now lives in Texas, when she comes and when she talks about the Chazy School, and I'll send her a copy of this, she nearly cries and cannot understand how the state of New York or the National Register would ever let this school district tear down a building that was the first in the state and in the nation of a centralized school. How could it have happened?
A lot of us can't understand.
Can't understand it, right? Of course, there was the money and the power of the miners, probably, at the time.
No, it was not the miners.
The foundation? Well,
Department of
The
Education.
state,
Department of Education.
the state wouldn't provide money, I understood, for major repairs, which they required them to do as far
Because
as.
the roof was leaking. When they opened the new school, the roof was still leaking. in the new
Yes,
school.
yes.
But they had open stairways, which I guess the state objected to tremendously.
Fire traps. How do you burn
Well, concrete.
But
cement and steel?
even if you don't use it, you don't tear it down because you don't do that with buildings. They won't even let you change walls or roofs on some buildings that are in the National Register. You just can't change them.
But was the school in the National Register?
No, but it should have been, it could have been very easily,
Probably
right?
not at that time.
No, the question was only, it was less than 40 years old, you know, when they did it. Although-
But I remember in high school that there were a lot of repairs going on constantly. The school was being re-stuccoed every 2 or 3 years, and there were leaks in the roof, into the auditorium, the cafeteria. It was really falling apart.
When you get a roof that's as as complicated as this one was, and they had tiles, they were tiles, weren't they, on the roof?
Yes.
Spanish
They were
time.
Spanish tiles with half tiles, that you're going to have problems. They do when they're in the Southwest, where in Texas and so forth. But they didn't plan on that, I guess. But it's just we're going to be talking a little bit more and show you some of the inside rooms and so forth from the
I
yearbook.
don't think it was roof, not roof.
It wasn't a roof, it caused the,
A lot
No.
of it was the open staircase, and no, like the 6th floor, there was a very narrow stairway to walk down, and you could
Yeah.
put, the stairway was very narrow, and if you had 400 children up there in the lunchroom, which the lunchroom was on the 6th floor, how do you get them down in an emergency?
Uh-huh.
And it was this type of safety things that the Board of Education, State Board of Education objected to.
all right. We'll take a short break. I want to remind you, we're talking with people from Chazy, New York, all graduates of Chazy Central.
Yeah.
They're all here, graduates of Chazy Central, and one that isn't but should have been, right here. And we're talking, and we're in the room of the future historian's room here, the room for the historian, later in October in the former Methodist Church. Now the beautiful doors, beautiful woodwork in this building, and
Yes.
what a great place you have here,
And they're
right on
go-
Main Street.
And they're going to hold all the stained glass windows, and they're going to
Okay.
be covered with screening on the outside, and they're gonna have a new inside windows to protect them.
Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Yes. Alice, not Alice.
Yeah,
Ellen
Okay,
Dickinson.
okay, we'll-
She was an excellent teacher.
All right, what you're looking at, of course, is the 1916, 1917 front end of the Chazy Central Rural School. And the reason why we're here at this time of the year, or this year, is because it's 25 years ago that they decided to take this down, and they actually built, this is the entrance, more modern, of course, doesn't have the, if you pardon the expression, the class and just the history of the other. And this was first occupied in 1969. It was built and finished in 68. That's why we're here, 25 years. Which means that we have someone at the table who's at least 25 years out of high school, and he's sitting right at the end. And you said you were the last graduating class of the old school?
I was originally in the last graduating class of the old school, yeah.
Okay. So all your education here was in the former building. You never got in the new building as a student.
I graduated from the new building.
How'd that happen?
Well, that happened because I stayed in 10th grade twice. My class, my original class graduated in 1969. I stayed in 10th grade twice, so I actually was in the first graduating class from the new school.
And that's why you did it, because you wanted to get the new building.
Well, that's not exactly why I
Did
did
you
it.
tell your father that?
No, my father told me.
He was just talking a few minutes ago about the view from the clock tower. Maybe that's why he
Yes, we heard that. How did you know the view from the clock tower?
Oh, I remember that too.
Well, by climbing up and looking through
You
it.
didn't set off the bells or anything, or check the time, did you? That was
No.
what you were doing.
No, it was a huge clock.
His father had already done that.
His father had
Yeah.
done it,
Yeah.
told him. Did you know how to get into school at night after hours?
Yes.
Now there were a lot of us who did.
Yes. Did you know?
Oh yes, we used to go in at night and play basketball in the gyms in the dark, just the moonlight shining in. Oh yes, many years ago. Yeah.
How did you get in?
I got in with some of the students from this school that I knew as good friends, and they knew how to get in.
Did you ever go through the tunnels under the sidewalk?
No, never did that. No, we went in through the windows in the back some way. No, that was back
Well,
when
at the time, you could get into the tunnel that ran from Grey Gables over to
Yeah.
the school, and there was an arm that went over to the Presbyterian Church and the manse that you could get into the school through also. And steam pipes went through there, and it was very poorly lit.
you know that word I read years ago. I was reading Gustavo, and I heard the word manse, and I didn't know what a manse was, and I looked it up, and apparently it's the residence of the Presbyterian, mainly Presbyterian church ministers, but not for the Methodist ministers. They're not called
No,
manse.
they live in a parsonage.
They live in a parsonage, right? But the Presbyterians lived in manses, not mansions, manses, M-A-N-S-E.
And a
that-
Catholic priest lives in the rectory.
And he lives in a rectory now. They say, they said that, here's what I've heard. Esther, what I've heard is that ministers have their better halves, and priests have their better quarters. All right, now, this tunnel you're talking
I want to know
about.
how you got in that tunnel there.
Okay, the tunnel was because there were heat pipes that came from the school, which heated all the Grey Gables, and I guess heated the Presbyterian church.
Yes, I guess
And
Mr.
So he
Minor-
was a Presbyterian, obviously,
in the Presbyterian and Mass, both.
and the
No,
manse he
no.
heated.
Oh,
No.
it did?
No?
Oh,
No,
oh,
no.
I'm sorry.
that was added later.
No,
Alright.
never heated that. They, it heated the little stone house that was next door there.
Oh,
It heated that house. They heated the house where Mrs. Bayshard lives over here. And the church. And that was the extent of the heating.
You sound like another one knows about the tunnel. You've been in the tunnel too to know this.
No,
No.
I wasn't that kind of a boy.
Well, let's find out how that kind of a boy found out about the tunnel. How did you get in the tunnel? Which end?
Lift up
This end?
just lift them up a manhole
Is
cover.
that how you got in with the manhole covers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot.
You better
See,
seal those manhole covers.
I hope Russ Trombley's on this.
They had, well, he was there probably more than the rest of us. And they had also took care of the water for Grey Gables and the
Yep. The
sewerage.
sewage, because there was no separate sewage.
And they never had to shovel the main sidewalk here because there was enough heat from the steam pipes that would keep it melted off all the time.
Yeah. There are some people out there who probably don't know what we're talking about when we say the Gray Gables. So tell us what the Gray Gables is. Nancy on the end has to say, what were the Gray Gables, Nancy? They were gone when you went to school.
Well, they were apartments when I went to school, but that's where the teachers all stayed, and they would live there while they taught at the old school.
Well, they had to be single, right?
No, they had single
They
quarters in the,
had-
what was the old school, but behind it they had the married quarters.
Yes, but let me explain the married quarters.
Okay, explain, go ahead.
Yeah.
Esther taught there, and we thought it would be a good chance for us, you know, so we tried to get in there. But the male teachers could live in there, but not female teachers.
Not married female.
Not married female teachers?
And there was no, they did not have to pay any rent or anything. They were furnished with, it was furnished with their salary.
But it didn't go for the women?
No.
Now, do you think the secretary to the principal might have caused that situation?
I think so.
Do you think you might have, huh?
I'm sure I don't.
When did you start at as a secretary at your school here?
1950.
So, Miss Ingalls was here at the
Miss-
time?
No,
Miss,
no.
Miss Inglis.
Miss
Mrs.
Inglis?
Inglis.
She's
Mrs.
Yeah, Mrs.
Mrs.? I thought she was a miss. Oh,
No,
Mrs.
She wasn't Miss.
And she was there in 1950.
No. The principal that came there in 1950 was Wingate.
Okay. Well, had Mrs. Minor died? She died in 1950, didn't she?
This is, she died in 1950.
But was she?
Gosh, I don't know.
I think she died in 1950. But you maybe weren't started there yet. You
I
remember?
started in October of 1950. I replaced Mrs. Hyde.
Now, when you went to school, or at least you four went to school, you remember Mrs. Minor coming to the auditorium for every Friday, whatever it was, for the open. Did she come every Friday?
I don't think she came every Friday.
When you had something special, she'd come and had her own seat there and everything?
That was we had a command performance every Friday at Sheets in the school.
And people said they were probably the best disciplined kids in the county.
Well, yes, with Mrs. English, you didn't have to.
No choice, did you?
Well, they say today, as a matter of fact, today even, that the CCRS students are as well behaved as anybody in the county. Now, I don't have proof of that, but I've heard that. Yeah, are you familiar with that also?
And we used to go meet at Plattsburgh State at the time for our music festivals, and they said they could always tell the Chazy students when they came in the way they were dressed and the way they acted. We
The
didn't dare do
school
different.
still gets letters. The superintendent, Mr. O'Connor's got
Uh-huh.
letters on how well behaved Chazy students are when they attend ball games at other districts.
Did you hate that when you were at the ball games, or when you were one of those? Did you feel out of place because you were better dressed or anything? Do you remember?
We didn't go to
We
ball
were-
games.
No, but
The
you did.
the team members.
They were
We
dressed.
maybe weren't better dressed, but we were
They were dressed,
groomed.
groomed. Okay, all right. I don't mean better clothes, but at least you had a tie and a shirt or something that,
Yes.
or dressed like you were going someplace. All right. We have some other pictures here. A 1928 graduating class.
Cover the glass.
Anyone in here that is still around that we might know?
Loyal Wright, right here.
Loyal Wright in the middle.
He lives down at the lake.
If you remember, we met him when we were at Beartown.
I don't know if any of the other ones are.
All right. Class of 1928, good sized class.
Yes.
And then the class of, and the class of 1932. This building was erected in 1916 as a gift to the community, it said over the front door.
Right.
And it certainly was. Now in this, Dorothy Forget,
Forge.
Evelyn Ducharme, this is the front row. Gertrude Bouvier, Elizabeth West, she from the West family.
Yeah, Elizabeth Gregoire now.
She's
Oh,
still with
Elizabeth Gregoire now. Myrtle LaPlante, Miss Julia
Osterhout.
Osterhout,
She
Carol
taught
Barber.
literature.
Pardon?
She
She
taught
was the
literature.
Later?
She was the
Literature.
teacher.
Literature teacher. But
Later?
Literature.
Literature.
All right. Eva, Carol Barber, Eva Rowe.
His aunt. Carol would be Paul's aunt.
Okay. Helen Parrott. Now there's the name I'm not familiar with. Ethelwyn
North.
Ethelwyn North.
Right.
That's not a direction. That's her first name. Ethelwyn.
Ethelwyn.
Ethelwyne. Second row in the back, all the boys.
She was valedictorian of the class.
They even separated the boys and the girls when you had pictures taken, because in the schools you were separated. They had their own. They each had their own pool. Each had their own gym.
Each had their own locker room.
Own locker room separate. All right. Second row with Kenneth Musso, Mooso, Howard Matat.
They still separate the gyms, Bob. by
They-
the way. Okay.
We'll talk about that in a minute. Harry Pombrio, Hersey Tremblay, J. Walter Laramie,
That's my brother.
your brother, Raymond Tatro, Harold McBride, Herman Broderick, Kenneth Bruce, and Milton Hislop.
Harry Pombrio, they own the cleaners in Rouse's Point.
And you see they all had their time. Was this class day usually? This
That was class day.
Class day. All right, let's take a short break and we're going to come back and talk about what is probably more important than graduation day in Chazy. That's class day. We're going to find out why that is.
I can run upstairs. We had class.
Well, Marie went to confession earlier and talked about 17 million when it was 17,000. I just was told that I said 40 years before they get into the new school, and actually it was 53 years. But I was thinking that in 1955, what was in my mind was when they built the addition to the old school, the new home ec, and that was about 55, 53. All right, so that it was in 60s,
Right there.
right here,
56.
56.
Flip it over.
It was 50, that's the 50 years. Okay, that was the 50 years. So what we're
40
talking about,
That was the 40 years. That was the 40.
that was the 40. That voice you hear in the background is Calvin Castine. He usually runs the camera. That was 40 years is when we built the new building. We're going to talk about this later. And two things I want to bring up. Number one, remember they got in the new building in '69. If Nancy would stand up, she came well prepared. Look at the Chazy Central Rural School right there, built in 1916. Are those shirts still available?
I think just regular sweatshirts.
They are still
Not
available?
hooded ones.
Okay.
I think so.
So if anybody wants one of
From
those,
the after-school program.
okay, so then any of the graduates or anybody that wants one of those, they could be, you could check with,
Sure.
well, how would they reach you, Nancy?
They can call me 846-8544.
Okay, or check with the after-school program. They could use the money, obviously.
Boy, you're gonna get all these.
Munson, what's Debbie? Not Debbie. Kathy Munson.
Kathy Munson is
What's her
also.
married name?
Devins.
Kathy Devins is the one to call.
Okay,
I
Kathy
think-
Devins, Chazy. What's her husband's name?
Raymond.
Raymond. Oh, there's one more person that we see in here that we haven't shown you, but right behind Nancy, of course, is a picture of the benefactor of the school. There he is right there. That's William H. Is it H. Minor?
William Henry.
William Henry Minor right there. And that's a great picture. A picture like that used to be hung, I think, in the physician's hospital. And then that all disappeared. That great big waiting room with that great big fireplace. And it was great, and that just disappeared into offices, and it's too bad. One other thing that was pointed out, the dedication tablet in the main entrance to the Chazy Central Rural School in 1916 was this plaque that said, "To the children of Chazy, citizens of the future. It is our earnest hope that your inspiration, it's hard to read here, cradled in this building, and your association with your teachers, your books, and with one another may impel you to make diligent effort towards self-improvement, whereby you may prepare yourself to go forth into the world of opportunity, not alone to accomplish your own mental and spiritual development, but to carry to all mankind a fruitful message of high purpose, patriotic example, and practical helpfulness, corresponding in degree to the great and loving interest which we feel for you, Alice and W.H. Minor." And that type of a thing is what Mr. Minor believed in, and if you're ever in his own old school, you couldn't turn your head in any direction without seeing a plaque of some kind,
With a
inspiring
Roman
you to go higher all the time, right? And
It's out there, go for it.
pardon?
It's
It's
out
out
there,
there, go for it. And this paper was upon the occasion of the opening of the Industrial Arts and Homemaking Building January 12th, 1956, from the Plattsburgh Press Republican of January 13th. That building stayed, that was not torn down, and it was part of the new building. And we may get into this later, but right now we won't. One thing, go ahead, Marie.
Thanks to Esther, she brought this in.
Oh, you did, okay. Now, we're just starting to show you the Chazy Central Rural School yearbook, the #1 yearbook, issued first in 1921, and it has been something that's been given to every student graduate there since that time.
Since that time, and I guess they're still getting these yearbooks.
They made many copies. I think it's the original old books. And this book actually contains pictures of all the classrooms, or many classrooms. It has cross sections of the building to show what each room was. We'll get into this, but it shows you everything about the school, how it was constructed, everything else, and well bound, put together by Mr. Miner. And what else can you tell me about this?
Well, I remember my first day of school because on walking into the building, which was very big and very impressive, the first thing that I noticed was that the stairs down to the kindergarten classroom were small and easy to walk on, and thinking that, do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
That, gee, this is going to be fun. Somebody's been thinking about how to design a building for kids. And I was very impressed by the small stairs. And the nap room, do you remember?
Yes.
Remember up to the
Yes.
nap
We had
rooms?
to have our blanket.
You had a room for that?
Yeah, oh, there was a
Pitch
big
dark.
loft where, as I remember, everybody went for naps, and it was very dark. And in late spring, before school was out, it got hot.
Didn't have that in Williams.
No, we worked.
You napped in class back then. You were napping in class.
This was in the annex, upstairs in the annex, wasn't it?
Yes.
And it was real dark in cots.
Yep. Everybody had a cot, and it was very quiet.
Keep talking. I'm going to just look for
And,
something.
the classrooms I remember were very tall. They had, I don't know what, 12 foot. It seemed like 15-foot tall ceilings. Very tall ceilings with big windows, and it was easy to daydream. Look out the windows.
Let's just show you that these are some of the plaques. That dedication plaque I just read was here. Here's an appreciation tablet in the main entrance hall.
They're still there.
They're still in the new school. Right. This was the school, the main school building. Right here.
That's right.
Uh,
Then off
They built
to
the
the
annex.
south was the annex for the elementary.
when was that? Oh, that was built originally?
Later.
Later on. All right. Well, of course,
And I had heard that was built twice. That Mr. Miner, that the first time that it was built, Mr. Miner came during or near completion of construction and didn't like it and had it torn down and redesigned and done again, is what I heard.
well, before I gave Paul the opportunity to mention, but he didn't take it, that he was the president of the school board. During what years, Paul?
Well, up until last year, and there was a 5-year term.
Okay. Just tell me before you go ahead here. You've been looking for something in particular?
Yeah.
All right. Let me just, here's the calendar for 1920, 21. Gave the days they were off. The school board, Mr. Miner was president, and the other people involved here. This was the office of the principal, in this case, Mary Sabin. Does anybody remember Mary Sabin?
No, we're all.
I mean, I don't know how long she stayed with, no? She was well on before.
I remember the principal's office though,
How do you remember that?
because it was a very impressive building. It was wood paneled, very tall ceilings, deep carpeting.
Right
It
there.
was,
Right here.
it was a formidable office.
Right here, yes. Why would you go in there, Paul?
I don't remember.
You don't remember why you went to the...
I remember why I went.
Remember why you went there? Were you sent there, people were sent there?
If you weren't, the teachers didn't like what you're doing, you went to the principal's office and she put you straight.
She put you, there's this chair right there waiting for you. See it right there?
I
And you
heard
were-
if you held hands, you could go too.
Oh yes, let's talk about that here. Back off camera, once you told us about how you were disciplined one time. Tell us about that again. I think we should tell us that.
Well, I don't like to let secrets out, but you were talking about how everybody had to be more or less segregated in schools.
Yes.
And I said, not only in the school, but outside. We were going together when we were going to high school. And we were walking down what we always called the main walk here at school. And I think Esther reached over and held my hand.
Oh, no.
Must have
And-
been the way it was.
Yeah, sure.
And the next morning, we got called into the office because we weren't supposed to do that
Even outside.
outside. We were too friendly.
All right. Now the faculty was
I
listed
wonder if they
here.
still do that today.
And,
Mac and Esther, you mean?
You wanna
good
see?
point. The faculty was listed in this book of the people that were here. Some more of the faculty, high school department are all here. A little bit of information about the other departments. And then, you want to tell us what this is here? So he can see it too with his
Well,
camera.
Yeah, this looked like one of the a couple of the elementary classrooms
Okay.
with big chalkboards going all the way across.
Sandboxes, or if you weren't good, you were put behind them.
Is that right?
I don't remember the same.
I've been there.
Yeah,
That was back in our day.
Okay. That was, let's see, we have here, then we have some more classes here. A lot of windows.
how tall are those ceilings?
I would assume they're 10 feet at least, 10 to 12 feet, maybe this one looks like it's at
Higher
least
than that, weren't they?
more than that even.
I don't know, it'd be more than that.
All right, there's some more course of study for the first course, second course. The English room, the Shakespeare room. Can you remember the Shakespeare
Yeah, I
room?
remember
Tell us
Shakespeare
a little bit about, anybody else about the Shakespeare
It
room?
was designed after the Jockey Club, wasn't it, in England?
Oh, I don't know.
Does it
But
say
it had
there?
had a fireplace. And
Fireplace and the
Fireplace is
the
there.
senior
Yeah.
bench.
Yeah, with the bust of Shakespeare
bust of
on the
Shakespeare.
mantle.
Yep, there's the bust of Shakespeare and the clock.
And the mantle and the bust of Shakespeare
It
is
was paneled like the English
Yep.
Jockey Club.
architecture.
Yeah.
Now, one thing, if you're still live, camera, Calvin, right here, this is something you should see. This person sitting in this chair right here was a lady named Frances Fitzgerald. Very well known in Champlain now, and even better known in Chazy by the name of Frances St. Maxons, with her hair up in this picture right here.
Those are the Windsor chairs.
Our Grand Lady of Champlain. What a great person. And she's
She
done so much.
graduated from high school the year that book was.
1921.
Right.
Okay, now Paul's gonna tell you the bus still being there and everything.
Oh,
Okay,
well, yeah,
okay.
the mantle and the bust of Shakespeare was moved to the new building, and that's about all that I know of that was moved from the working classroom into the new working classroom. But you had arrived if you had made it to the Shakespeare room, and I remember also the Cicero room.
The Shakespeare room, I remember, had a cupboard in one end where they kept their books.
Where there were books and
They didn't have desks, you know, there were chairs.
Windsor chairs.
Windsor chairs.
Windsor
Yeah,
chairs.
we saw them here in the
But I can
picture.
remember of that cupboard that was in the corner with a key in there to open, keep the doors closed. And every once in a while, some smart one would take the key and tie it to the curtain string and let it go to the top, you know? And I can remember Miss Osterhout coming into the gym to get me because those girls had to go to class and they couldn't get their book. Wonder where I put the key. But I can remember that.
I remember the window poles that were used to open and close those windows. There was a long pole
See, there's a
With the
desk
latch
that
on the
with
end.
a hook on the end
Remember that too.
to reach up and open the windows with. And which makes me think of when I was in 7th grade, one of my classmates, whose initials are Scott Whedon, had slumped down in his chair one day, and he had some BBs in his pocket. And he just slumped down, and the BBs started to pink out onto the wooden floor. And Miss Brothers
Uh-oh.
heard these BBs, and I remember she came after Scott with the window pole. It was a memorable experience.
Now you remember, these were very
I'm sure
serious things. BB bag dropping out of your pocket, you know. Today they wouldn't even pay attention. The way I think things happen in school, but they were very much more serious then. This is the history class. Was there anything unusual about the history class other than the maps and anything about the room that was out of the ordinary?
Had a fireplace in it.
Yeah.
Most of the rooms had fireplaces. No?
It was just the
Fireplace had
Which room is that?
the
The
history room.
Cicero room was very
No,
interesting.
Well, this
the other one's right across the
That's
hall
a
from
freshman.
it there.
Oh,
Okay.
oh, yes,
The
yes.
floor in the freshman room was, the math room was all geometric patterns. Remember the tiling? You remember
Didn't
that?
understand geometric at that time, I guess.
This shows some of the plays. I guess here in the middle, this was the Latin and French classes. Latin and French.
Well, that's your Cicero
That's
room
the
up there.
Cicero.
This is the Cicero room. Now you're talking here 1916, and Chazy had Latin and French classes. Probably some of the first schools in the area to have French and Latin
That room
classes.
was completely white. Ceiling, walls, statues, everything.
Used to paint her toenails and fingernails.
You see they had these statues into the
Series,
wall,
I think
right?
The other one's name.
You paint their toenails?
Paint their toenails and the fingernails. Our junior prom night, which was great in Chazy School, you went up and danced to Mrs. Inglis's phonograph record, the minuet. And then you went, had tea and cookies and went home.
And
She
the
thought,
president of the junior class had to ask Mrs. Inglis to dance.
right.
Oh,
I happened to be president of the junior class. And everybody was so afraid that she might accept sometimes. She never had, but you had to go and ask her.
Yes.
The mathematics room here at the top, and then the science lecture room. Again, right here, right here, Francis St. Maxims at that time, Francis Fitzgerald. And I think I lied before because I said I was going to come back and talk about the class day, and I didn't do it. And I think we're going to have to stop here again, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about class day for sure. You're tuned in to Hometown Cable. What's going on here? Calvin Castine with the camera. You all know Calvin from this area, and his brother Sam does an awful lot here at Chazy. Sam does as much as anybody here in Chazy. Yearbook dedicated to Sam Castine last year by the class. I think that was just tremendous.
2 years ago.
2 years ago, how time flies. 2 years ago. And I'm Bob Venn, and all these nice people at the table are graduates of CCRS, Chazy Central Rural School. That's the way it looks in the press. See it? If you want to see the picture of the old school, meet Nancy with her jacket over there, and you'll know her.
I think it's.
I didn't forget, I was outvoted. They want us to continue with the pages to show you they're also anxious to talk about their classrooms that they love so much. And I'm serious about that, that's not a joke. Here's the physics laboratory and the chemistry laboratory. You'll notice the shirts and ties, I don't think they were just put on for the pictures. Right, that's what it was in 1920 and 21. And I believe this man right here is one of the Dupreys. This is a Dupree. Warren Dupree here in this laboratory. We'll see him later in the shop area. Right now, Paul, you can tell us a little bit about this and hold it so Calvin can speak.
Well, yeah, now this room I don't remember so well. The agriculture curriculum was gone by the time I got into it.
Grace?
It was downstairs in the lower section,
Is that where the chemistry and physics labs
No,
were?
the other end of it.
at the other end.
The other
Of course, Mr. Miner, being raised on a farm, liked agriculture very much.
Had a nice bull in there.
Yes, the big
Yeah.
bullet right here in the middle of the picture, and you can see it over here on the wall. There it is right there on the cupboard.
Like storage cabinets.
Yep. Again, there's another agricultural laboratory. And go ahead, Paul. Anything else to remember about the ag program?
They were very active with all of they had a lot of shows displaying and telling about learning how to judge cattle and horses and
They kept the cattle in this town shed out here in the back where the equipment is now, and they'd lead them across the way and bring them around the pond where they were having their cattle shows and like that.
For judging.
Yes.
For judging.
My brother.
I mean, they didn't
kept
stay
her
there
one
permanently, they just brought them here and left them in the shed till they were ready to take them over.
Calvin has a video that belonged to the Institute, and they showed the cattle, didn't they, in that video? I believe they showed some cattle parading around that the pond out here.
And my
I
brother
believe so.
showed his in one blue ribbon. She was a Guernsey.
Yeah.
Her name was Fredette of Locust Lawn.
And you never forget that, right? You never forget?
No.
I
But
mean,
it
about,
happened, Mr. Miner walked around first and looked at the cattle, and he happened to put his hand on my brother's, Pepper's, head. And they said that's maybe why she won, because he put his hand on.
oh, you baked it.
Midas touch.
All right, drawings and handicrafts.
The art rooms I remember
Yep.
being really interesting.
Yes.
On
Up in
fifth floor?
Yeah, on the 5th floor where the roof sloped down a lot. And
Yes.
Came to the floor, a lot of angles, and just interesting rooms.
They were-
Esther, you taught at the school, you didn't teach when Minor was here, but were they very particular? I don't mean that, did they go more for locals than from out of town people? Did he favor the,
teachers.
yeah? No? Did you mention off camera about the Gray Gable, or was that on camera? I forgot. That's one thing about talking and hearing about it, where the men teachers could stay at the Gables. Did we mention that on
Yeah.
camera? Okay. We're looking, again, now here is the home ec room, household arts, sewing and ironing, and all with their hats on, the cooking.
They had 2 rooms, one for cooking and one for...
Yep. You don't remember that, Paul?
No, I don't remember
I
that.
took the homemaking course.
There's no such thing as homemaking anymore, you know.
The
they don't
boys
have-
took homemaking too.
They don't have it in Champlain anymore. It's got a different course. They don't sew anymore. They don't cook anymore. I don't know what they do now. What they teach you.
If you'll notice, all the rooms were very large.
Yes. Very well lit.
Such as the cooking room, it was huge.
Where were those rooms?
Down in the basement,
Yes.
remember the alleyway, or the hall that you went down to go to the elevator?
Yes.
There was one room on each side of that,
Oh.
of the
Right.
hall.
It
So
went
that
out to
had
the-
become an art room.
That went out to
Was
the
it?
powerhouse.
Courses in
Walkers.
foods are given in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, consisting of 90-minute periods each week for a half year, and a similar amount of time during the 2nd semester is devoted to clothing. By the time the girl has finished the 8th grade clothing course, she is able to make simple garments to patch and darn, and has some knowledge of cotton materials. 8th grade.
And you ate in the cafeteria, and they ate buffalo soup.
Oh? Now, the industrial arts department, there's some of their forges, and there's their, did you remember that? Did you?
No,
No.
This was a separate building in the back, wasn't it?
Yes.
Max
Yes.
built a lot of it.
You must have been interested in that.
Oh, yes, I was in there for all the time and after school and everything else.
Who do you remember as your teacher then?
Well, I had Sam Morrison twice and Joe Young twice. And I think
Mr.
that,
Wheeler?
no, he was before my time. But I worked a lot in there. But we're using a cherry 4-poster bed I made when I was in high school. It's an
A
antique
bed you
now.
made it while you were in high school.
It's an antique now. I
Yes.
guess. And
Solid chairs.
I had a occasional chair I made. Well, I made a lot of stuff. Everybody worked hard.
Matt,
Martha
if the
Washington
thing you made is an antique, what would the person who made it be?
A real antique.
Well, did you use any of your own tools? No,
No.
that's what you enjoyed.
In the woodworking department over there, they had, they must have had about 6 different lathes.
Here are some of this woodworking equipment right here.
And they must have had, I'd say, I don't know if it shows there, but I thought there was about 6 lathes. It doesn't show them in there.
All right. Now these are some of the carpenter shop. I don't know if you're gonna. I think there is a lathe with Mr. Dupree. Here he is, right here. Right?
Here they are here.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 or 6. And they had, this was their bandsaw. They had a big double arbor table saw with both saw blades on, and you'd crank it, you could put your root saw up, bring your cutoff saw off, and a big jointer.
See, Mr. Miner believed you should be home working, not out playing basketball. not out playing baseball. You should, when you after school, you should go home and work
He
on a
was
farm.
afraid he would
Teaching
get
you
hurt.
he was teaching you a vocation.
There's an
as well
awful
as an
lot of,
education.
there was a lot of people from here that went to school and took the machine shop, which was in the other end, that went right from high school down to Powell Blade in the machine shops down there. I mean, they were,
Or Sheridan.
Yep.
I walked
or
with
Sheridan,
them.
yeah.
Now, this is Warren Duper here.
Right.
You know, that's
Yes.
Warren.
Yeah.
This is Warren Duper right up here on this lathe, in the machine shop. Music class, school orchestra. Did any of you people play in the orchestra when you were?
No, they were,
Ah,
didn't have
okay, you did? Tell us a little bit about,
I'm as old as the school.
but you didn't have to say that.
That's true.
Here's one of the annual concert given by the Glee Club's chorus and orchestra at the auditorium in 1928. And it was, the director of music was Mrs. Dial. And the orchestra was directed by Charles Hudson from Plattsburgh.
Charles Hudson, yeah.
And, and Bay Foreman was the accompanist. And after, when she did become the music director also.
Did you learn to play the organ at school, or did you take private lessons, or?
I learned to play the piano from Mrs.
Oh,
Foreman.
you did, oh.
And Donald Robinson, that taught music in school.
Uh-huh.
This is something unique about everyone had to be in the chorus and the glee club. And I have a hard time playing the radio. And so I used to have to stay after school and learn how to mouth the words and nothing come out because they didn't want me to sing. But I had to be in the chorus and glee club.
Of course, we're here talking about CCRS primarily, but particularly the building too. Did the building itself, the facility, do a better job than the normal school, do you think? Did that have a lot to do
It
with
had to.
the respect and everything else
The
you do learn?
equipment that was there, such as you didn't have just a small upright piano.
Uh-huh.
You had a baby grand. You didn't have a little electronic organ. You had a 5-manual with, is it 7 organs in one? I mean, it was and your classrooms were so complete.
It was the largest pipe organ in the state, containing 2,800 pipes and 58 stops and costing $50,000.
All right.
The architecture had a great deal of,
And we gave it.
Yes, a lot to do with it, huh?
yeah.
Everything was the best that money
Did
could
you
buy.
expect it at the time? Did you really realize
I
what you
did.
had at the time you were in
I think we
school?
did.
You think
Well,
you
what-
did?
I wanted to go there.
Yeah.
Older
I was
ones.
proud
We
to
up
go
there.
there.
You
Oh,
were
yes.
proud to
Oh,
go
yes.
there.
Very.
Yes.
There aren't many people, I don't think, who can say, I was proud to go to that school. You don't hear that very often, that's it.
I think it
I was
I think
proud.
that's a great tribute to the,
I can remember going to basketball games, you know, this was in the other school, but going to other towns and them throwing tomatoes and things at the school bus and we all had to duck down. And it's like, we never experienced that because we weren't like that. It was very, you
knew better.
respected, you were very proud of your school, you were respected where you came
Uh-huh.
from.
now we're gonna get into some of the physical department, yeah,
Hold
this
it.
is,
Miss Gordon was saying
I'm
about the
sorry.
organ.
The
What,
organ.
what happened to the organ?
What did you say?
something happened to the organ, you
It's-
said
Oh, it was just,
sold by the piece. They could not find anyone to buy the organ as complete in one, and they had to sell such as
just get
in
rid of
parts.
everything.
You know, there I guess was a reciprocating organ or reciprocating piano that was in the music room that Art Pierce has down in Plattsburgh, tucked behind.
There were a lot of people wanted some of the artifacts.
But we weren't allowed to take them for some, get them to buy them for some reason.
Until the auction, the time of when
Yeah.
they. when
They're
they
selling
had an
4
auction.
Steinways over there.
Like I had a Steinway piano when I was teaching there. I mean, where else would you have the opportunity to
yeah.
hear things
It
like
was
that?
all Bach instruments too.
There
What?
was-
They first,
Music, what instrument did you learn to play?
The flute.
The flute? Did you continue after you got out of school?
No.
You didn't keep it up? Did you like it while you were in school?
Didn't know enough to.
You didn't know enough to like it? You knew enough to learn how to play it well.
Oh, yes.
Huh?
Yes, of course, but I mean, I didn't appreciate it like I should have.
Well, did you learn while you were there at least whether it's a flutist or a flautist? Which is it?
Well, I've heard learning is a flautist, I guess.
It's a flautist? So you were a flautist when you were in school.
Probably.
All right, this shows one of the gymnasiums here. You want to see why you didn't have crowds at the gyms? There were no sidelines. The walls were their sidelines, and they had the climbing apparatus on the side. They did exercises. This is the center, you can see, and the baskets were at each end, and they were, I think, on the wall or just out, not very far. So there was no, but these doors on the side used to open.
To the
Is that
other-
correct?
The
Tell me about that.
into the
Okay.
auditorium.
So that served two purposes. One, you could sit there and watch somebody, or you could also expand your auditorium by putting chairs here and looking out into the auditorium. We'll show you that in another picture, I think.
I don't think the gymnasiums were regulation size, but
Oh, no way at all. They were very, very narrow.
narrow.
No. These were the boys' shower bath and the boys' swimming pool. The women had their own swimming pool.
And there was 2 bronze statues.
Bronze statues on the end. The boys had the bronze men's statue, and then the women. And someone told us when we were over there that these statues were posed for
Yes.
by someone from the area, huh?
Right.
By the area people. This is the.
Who are they?
Who were they? Do you remember?
Lila Bryson.
Lila Bryson, yeah, she married
Bryson married Stanley Niles.
Stanley Niles.
Right. This would be she here, whether she likes us to show it or not. This is in the book. The women's showers, the girls' showers. This was the statues that were at the end of the pool.
Still there.
It's still there in the new pool. And this is the girls' gymnasium.
Which also opened to the auditorium.
Also open to the, these are the big doors that open to the auditorium. Any comments anybody had? You
I
remember?
remember in the girls' pool, the shallow end was roped off or was it barred off? And
Barred.
being shallow, they raised the cement slab. Was a step up. It wasn't like it didn't go up. I just remember being in a barred area and a step you had to take because it was shallower, so they added to the floor.
That was for instructions. Like,
Right.
thank you.
And it was all white tile, octagon-shaped
Yes.
tiles. But I remember back in the 40s and then maybe even the 50s, they didn't use the pools
Yeah, because they couldn't get the piping.
for many, many years. They didn't
Yeah.
use them at all. Did you have the pool when you were there? And Paul?
Yes.
Yes, we used it.
So they must have got that's
I
after
guess there
that.
was a period of time when the
During the
pools
war,
weren't-
they couldn't get the
Absolutely.
piping.
and there was a quarry nearby, right?
We
The
had
story that I'd heard was that the quarry blasting had cracked the
Oh,
pool.
yeah, a lot of blasting here in Chazy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But they were repaired for a few years when I was in junior high school.
This is the library, different scenes of the library. Anybody got any stories about the library? Must have been extra quiet in this library.
There were a couple of rooms there, and there were
I think it was
lots.
bigger than the old school it is now, the new school.
I think so.
2 rooms.
There was 2 rooms onto the real
They had a
little
reading
children.
room where you could have.
Yep, and then you had your card index and you had your magazines up on the side. All right. Now, they had their own medical department. You remember, was it there when you were there too?
Yeah.
All right, let's start some of the older people from before. Do you remember who was there when you had your own dentist?
Dr. Tanner.
Dr.
Dr.
Tanner.
Tanner? That's in another picture, but this is the medical department and the reception room for the doctor and the
Miss
dentist.
Brody, it
Miss
was,
Brody was
Yeah.
the nurse.
yes, she married Mr. Gill.
Jay Gilder, yeah.
So this was a little community in itself. I mean, in the year 1919, over 1,700 cases were given attention for minor ailment by the school doctor or nurse. 32 students underwent surgical operation for defects, and 11 students were fitted with glasses in the school. Kind of unheard of.
Then you went to, if you had to have your tonsils out, you went, the whole bunch went on a Saturday and you all had
Not at school.
No, at the hospital,
Oh,
hospital.
yeah.
My friend Gary Duisberg was telling me that a gentleman by the name of John Dewey, who was an educator in the 1910s and 20s, supposedly met Mr. Minor and was influential in his coming up with a concept of education for children that is popular again now, just considering the child as a whole child and not so much concerned with curriculum-based education as opposed to providing children with as much education and stimulation as they're ready for.
Well, you're gonna have to do it.
That children's health and nutrition.
Phone was taken care of. Off camera, they were talking about who the man was who posed for the statue at the boys' swimming pool. They didn't know for sure. There was an opinion of a McBride, possibility of a McBride,
But later.
but you don't know for sure.
No,
Okay. You were telling us, Paul, about this when the phone rang. I was reading about the students were fitted with glasses. Anything else you want to add to what you're
Nancy
saying?
had-
And Nancy had something.
I remember when I started going to school in kindergarten, and every year we had to go down to the nurse's office, girls and then the boys, and Dr. Clark would come and give us a complete physical. We would get our shots for school, and every year we used to have to do it, and we'd have to get down to our little slips and whatever, and it was so cold in the nurse's office. I just remember going around the little aisle and Dr. Clark there telling me what to do, but every year we had a physical, got our shots.
and this was free.
Do they do that today at CCRS? You
I
know
don't
of?
think so.
I don't think
Don't
so.
think they do that. Now, do they do it anywhere else?
I know at Northeastern, there's about 3 times during the course of their 12 or 13 years that they get a physical.
They get a physical.
I think you still get the physical. They used to have free fluoride treatments for your teeth. I kept up on it.
There's the dental department. Anybody got some stories on the dental department?
I heard the chair's for sale over there now.
Still have it? They still have it? I'm surprised that someone don't get it for here. Bring it here and just have it to where someone could sit in it just because of the
Have you
age.
sat on it?
Huh? Pardon?
Have you sat in it, Bob?
No, but
I
You don't
remember
want
it
to
was very
remember it then.
uncomfortable.
well, it would just be something because of the old school again, you know.
I had the mechanical drawing table upstairs in the historian's room, but it weighs about 500 pounds, we couldn't move it to bring down.
Well, I had an experience.
Yes.
Okay, I had a tooth out over there, and I was given gas.
Here, yeah.
Over at school, yeah.
Did you go home afterward, or did you go back to class?
Right in, yeah, well, I was home, and I guess I went right back to my class.
You did.
Mm-hmm. I remember that well.
I remember having my teeth cleaned over there.
No,
I
it's just
remember having teeth.
yeah.
Teeth examined, yeah.
It's just amazing. I don't know of any other school that ever did that. I just don't know of it. I'm not saying there aren't any, but now the assembly. Let's talk a little bit about assembly. Now this is the auditorium right here. All right.
And those doors you see over the right, that opened into the
Yeah,
gymnasium.
yeah. There was a gym on either side
There
that
was-
we showed you, and this were the curtains that would pull back, and then they had the doors that would open into the gym, and they could then, when they're going to have graduation or something, seat some people there on each side to add to it.
They seat, there was 1,100 was able to seat in the auditorium. And that's where and then the two
There was
black,
a balcony, and then you sat along the side up here along
Yes.
too.
and then you can see the black thing, that's where the speakers of the organs,
Up here,
and up the top too.
up here.
There was 5 speakers. And the pipes were so big into this organ that children could walk into the pipes. Because I remember one time they brought us through because we all got 100 in spelling. We walked through and we just kept turning these little buttons, and they couldn't use the organ the next Friday because it was
Well,
out of tune.
I may have mentioned this before. This is the auditorium. The doors in the back. When I went to the auction, I have the handles off those 2 doors, the brass handles. I also have, these were heavy green velvet material, not velvet, but they were, and they had some down the center to height, or they were around the outside, excuse me, on the outside, there were pipes and there were some, and I bought enough of those that all my basement windows downstairs, about 4 feet high, are covered with the old Chazy Central School curtain. I have them. and I have some left somewhere, and then they had heavy chain in the bottom to keep them down so that they wouldn't move. And I have a few other things I bought that day at the auction. I have some of the, oh, here we go, get back to the barbells. Remember the barbells?
I got them upstairs.
You got some of those? All right, well, those, I had 2 of them I got at that auction. And they were very long, and a narrow top with a round ball on top, and those were for exercises?
Yep.
Did you use them?
No, no.
Who used them? Can you get those? Right? Who can tell us how you use those? Remember using
I
them?
remember them, but I don't remember using
You don't
them.
remember using them? Okay, the Indian, well, Marie's gonna get them, we'll get them when they come back, maybe it'll refresh their recollection.
Well, one thing that I remember about the assemblies are that they were very formal, and there were flag bearers who would lead each class ushers
But
into
with
the
music.
auditorium.
It
With
wasn't-
music from the
it-
Yeah,
orchestra.
and you marched down the middle, right?
Oh, yes.
Oh, you marched in with music.
You
And the
didn't
minute
walk
you
in,
walked
you
in-
marched in with
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
You were quiet. The minute you walked
Yeah.
in,
That's
you
right.
didn't say a word.
They had, the main flag bearer was a senior. I guess most of the time it was based on their grades too, wasn't it? And then
Not always.
then it was an honor to be able to be an usher and carry the flag, and everybody had to wear a coat and a tie, and on a Friday especially when you had the assembly.
I can remember in the 40s, Mrs. Minor came down first, I believe it was first.
Mrs. Inglis.
No, Mrs. Minor went too. She was there for the programs.
Well, if she came to a
It
program.
was graduation maybe?
Well, maybe something.
Maybe.
There were special programs. I've seen her there. And Miss Ingles was down in the front first, right? She orchestrated those things. All right, here we go. These are the ones I'm thinking of here.
Indian clubs.
Indian Club. These are the ones that I have, 2 of these. And I think they would do their,
Yeah.
now do you remember? Their exercises?
There's the others.
And they were 1 pound. And that's what they are. And I have a couple of those. You can always use them to darn a sock, I guess.
Take care of a masher.
They had hundreds of these, I assume. You know, there was
They used to stick into a
You had to do them like.
bar.
Went around
with
and
holes
get
in
your
them. They were
exercising?
lined up in there.
You used to be able to twirl.
Twirl.
yeah, it's just like a baton, I
They're
guess.
perfectly
They
balanced.
had exercises. They used to do exercises with music, with everybody doing the same thing, twirling such as like a baton or something like that.
You have to be sure you were far enough from the next person that you didn't come in contact, because
take 'em out.
that swung around would be pretty lethal blow here. And these I don't remember seeing at all, but they had these also.
Yeah, you used to have to do the 2 of them at their exercise.
Yep.
Exercising your arms.
Yep. Probably made in your own shop. These things
Could have been.
could have been there, you know. All right, well that's what they were.
They had programs for the gymnasium exhibition. Well, here's one in here for 1930, and they had dumbbell drill.
Dumbbells.
Those are called. And they had, folk dancing, balance drill, pyramids, wand drill, tumbling exercises, dumbbell drill, balance beam exercises, exercises on the side horse.
Did they do those in the gym, I wonder?
Yes, it
I mean, in the gym or in the
On the
auditorium?
auditorium, yes.
On the stage,
Because
they
you
put it.
couldn't, nobody could sit in the gym. There's no
And
place.
Every year they had one, in the spring, they had one gymnasium exhibition. And it was some of this equipment.
Uh-huh. Anything else about these or the auditorium you can think of? Did they play any interscholastic sports at all? No. All games away, never that I know of. Not until they built a new school in 1969.
Each class put on a play on Friday. And they we all marched into the auditorium in lines by class. It was always preceded by a senior boy was chosen to carry the big American flag. And then each 2 other boys led each class with smaller flags. And you marched into the auditorium, and then you divided as you got down to your seats.
Boys and girls?
Well, it
No?
doesn't
By
make any
class.
difference.
Like, just like
By class, by
They
class.
used to line them up according to height.
Yes.
The smallest ones always went first, and absolutely.
So I was always the last one.
Symmetrically.
I think they were very proud marching down too. I can remember they didn't just walk in, they marched.
They didn't have any choice.
And they were spry too, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
There was always had a pianist that played the piano or the organ for the march to come in.
You know, my mother used to always say, "It didn't hurt you, did it?" That's what I'd say. Didn't do something I didn't want to do. She said, "It didn't hurt you, did it?" It didn't hurt any of you people, and I'm sure you were.
Every class, from kindergarten through first through senior class, was responsible for one Friday play entertainment. I mean, of course, if there were two first grades, the two teachers worked together. I mean, they weren't two first grades. It was a cooperative.
Has some pictures down there of one of the plays, of the old plays.
Okay.
When I was in the first grade, I played.
Yeah. Mr. McGregor's garden.
I had to Mary, Mary, quite contrary. And I was a flower. And then they put my head down and they watered my feet, my head.
Isn't that nice? Think about it.
This is outside, I believe. These are the doors that go into the auditorium, I think.
Yes.
Is that right? Those were the auditorium doors.
No, that was in front of the school.
Front of the school.
This is outside from
Yes,
the school?
yes.
Okay. And the lights are out there. And here's another.
That's one of the older ones.
The freshman play, February 1928.
I thought that was prom night.
Just about what you did.
Freshman play, February 1928. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 people in that play.
Do you remember the movies in the auditorium?
Oh, yes.
I remember,
Yosemite National Park, the flower.
you're right, travel logs
We had to
and
see.
movies.
You got to remember, many of these, not yours maybe, but were before television, right?
Oh, yes.
Not yours, right?
George Burroughs
No,
stories.
but
Remember that?
when you went to the auditorium for movies, that was before you had television, and the only other way to see anything moving was a movie theater.
And when we were young, sometimes the only movies we ever saw,
Exactly, exactly. It's hard for people to understand.
because Plattsburgh was 15 miles away and you didn't go down there in horse and wagon.
Yeah, plus money, it costs money.
That projector room that was so far up into the ceiling.
Was it a 16 millimeter projector that was up there in the ceiling? And they had the stories. Just a minute. George.
John Burroughs?
John Burroughs.
John Burroughs.
Stories.
They've had to take that film and put it all onto other film now because they said it's deteriorating to the point it's turning to almost like
And then they had a-
TNT.
They had a film that they made of the school with a lot of the pictures in the film are similar to what you're showing in the book and the people in it. And that has been made. We had it at our alumni association meeting this past year. It has been made so that you can buy
Videos?
videos of it yourself now. But it was the old made back in
We
the
did
20s.
this year.
And what did it include?
Putting everything in that book.
Do you think that's something that could be shown on TV if we were to obtain a copy somewhere? Who'd you have to get permission from?
That's what we've got. I've already got that.
You've got
That's
that.
the one you got?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you've
It was
got
just
that.
made recently.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
We're looking here at the first graduating class of 1920. 2, 4, 7 people.
She's, and Mrs. Helen Stetson Tanner,
I
I
was gonna say
believe is
she's
still
still
alive
living.
right here.
Okay, and tell us the other people in this. You can see their names off to the left here. We know that this is Lapierre.
Maynard Lapierre,
Maynard Lapierre is here.
John Collins, that was back there.
Okay.
Daisy Hyde, Dorothy Hyde, excuse me.
Just
Yeah.
died.
She just died.
Then Henry Sachs North,
Must be this
then
gentleman.
Helen Stetson, of course, is here,
Uh-huh.
and Alice Trombley.
Okay.
I really
Out in front of the school building again. And you remember, everybody who graduates from the Chazy School gets one of these sooner or later. This is the monthly concert and the high school glee clubs.
And incidentally, they still march in with flags at formal gatherings too.
They do.
They walk in.
They walk in. They don't march,
They
but
march
they still.
like they used to, huh?
You compare it with other schools, and you'll People appreciate what they're doing
It's
there.
marching. Here's some shots of the transportation that you talked about, the old buses. Book is very well done.
I hate to say it, but I remember riding it on the bus. Like,
Yeah. Mac never got a chance. He could see where he lives all the time, all his life, by stepping out his front door.
tipped over.
Now, someone can take over here. Tell us about these hallways.
That's all marble,
Okay, this is the front, main
the
entrance.
main entrance. That's,
These are the two plaques we talked, the
the
tablets.
plaques. And
Okay.
then there was a stairs that came up. This is
Yep.
all Italian marble with a drop chandelier. And each of the stairs coming down had a great big, like a cement ball at the bottom.
Keep you from sliding off the end.
When you slide down.
I'm scared that when he did.
Wide.
Now this was a wooden banister. Many of them were not.
Those not wooden, those were all cement.
Oh, they were cement there too?
Everything
Okay.
was, all the walls, everything was cement.
You see here is Lincoln, here is Washington's portrait. And these three bells up here, I remember those. What was this? Remember those? There were three bells, different
They
sizes.
used to ring
at
the
the end of the hall.
glasses.
That was the class bell?
Oh, well, those were plaster Paris.
Plaster of Paris, everybody figured there were brass on them.
Those there were?
Yeah.
Oh, they didn't ring those.
No, no.
All right. And here you got a place to sit down. I don't know.
That's just right opposite the main entrance.
That's waiting for the elevator.
That's-
The elevator, you can
that's
sit and
right
wait.
here. That's right here, this part.
Uh-huh. All right. Here's some more of the stairways. You see how elaborate. Here's where you come down and, again to the third floor. There's some more bells again. Plaster Paris. These are the doors for the auditorium.
Doors, yeah.
Those are the handles I have right there. And again, these were probably real ones. Were those real ones there? No, all the bells were.
No, I don't know, but the ones that are on for decorative purposes.
Okay.
You see though how wide the stairs are? That was one of the reasons. What they wanted doors across there so the smoke or fire wouldn't go up the stairway.
I don't know what would burn. Only the wooden doors.
That's what I was going to say. Now this is the
Boardroom.
crème de glace here. Yeah, the boardroom.
This is
Really elaborate.
Grace's home for 30 years.
That's the way. That was where you worked.
Well, she worked right, would be to the
Over
right.
here. Oh yes, the business office, secretary's office, right here. This is not she here.
No,
This is not she.
Miss Bentro.
This bed.
This-
That's a different office.
When Paul Sanger became president of the board, they got rid of that boardroom there. But they do have some of that wood in this room, don't they? They have some of the furniture in the
Yeah,
boardroom.
that bookshelf that
Yes.
I guess was European made.
Yes.
And the board table.
This
and
here,
the
this
chairs.
guy in there?
Yep.
Yep, that's in there, and I think the table is still there. Mr. O'Connor showed us. The clocks, none of the clocks worked independently. You can see in the business office here, this is the control for all the clocks in all the other rooms, correct? It was hard to sell the clocks because they didn't work, any of them.
Well, they went all off the main clock.
But I mean, when you tried to buy one at the auction, you couldn't
Like,
use it.
There's one upstairs,
Yes,
but I can't carry that one either, it's too heavy.
all right. There's another shot of the auditorium, and there's the organist. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, that was with a 5 speakers off this organ.
Okay.
5 manual, isn't
5
it?
manual, and it was 2,800 pipes with 58 stops.
So the next floor, you came in this upstairs. In other words, you
Came
didn't come inside and climb stairs. It was
No.
another floor,
Right.
right? And this famous painting is now in the auditorium at your present school.
And it's Frederick Malhup is the one that painted it. Mulhaupt.
Discovery of Lake Champlain by Samuel D. Champlain, July 13th, 1609. Now, I'd be very remiss if I didn't ask Calvin to repeat what he said when he first saw this in your auditorium. You see this Indian right here, looking over
Yeah.
and seeing there? And what was your statement, Calvin?
Well, they're very surprised and grateful for Champlain finding this lake. They never knew it was there. He
No,
discovered it in
He discovered
1609.
it. The Indians right there says, "My gosh, I never knew that lake was there."
Until that white man came and showed him. That was just great.
And here's another shot of the auditorium from the back, looking down. And the very famous, this is the other picture you have in the auditorium with the hay, gathering of the hay, the wheat.
Yes.
That's
It was
another great.
rumored, I don't know, that Mr. Minor posed for the man with the sickle.
I've heard that.
I don't know what it is.
I've heard that too. I've
There's
heard
those
that.
famous elevators,
Here, okay. Now we're going to get into.
the lunchroom.
Well, okay, now we're going to talk a little bit more about this. This is the elevator that brought you up to the lunchroom, which was on the 5th floor.
Which got stopped sometimes for hours with all us in it.
And there's the marble top, or
Marble top.
marble top tables
Yes.
throughout eating. And you also got some very prominent materials here you want us to see. Some of the cutlery. CCRS. Whoops. CCRS on the handles.
That was also used over here at the Grey Gables for the teachers.
Okay.
But that was used. Many a spoonful of buffalo soup was eaten with those soup spoons.
Buffalo.
Buffalo soup.
We always talk about bean soup when
Bean,
we always had bean soup. Did you have bean soup?
bean soup.
Do you have more than one set of these here at the museum?
We had bean
No,
soup.
we only had that one.
So what's the rest of them just kind of,
They went to auction.
they sold that at auction? Well, I guess people who went to school, did anybody here happen to get themselves a
I
set at the
bought
auction?
I bought six of those soup spoons.
You did? That's awfully nice to have, you know?
That's all they had left, right?
I bought a desk chair, teacher's desk chair, and a straight chair from classroom.
Did they still have the cafeteria when you were there? Did you still go up on the 5th floor and
Oh,
still
yeah.
eat then
But you had to
too?
walk down. They
Had to
rode the
walk?
elevator up and you walk down the stair, the narrow stairs.
So you ate on shifts, is that, or did you all eat at one time?
Shifts.
Shifts?
Sure.
We had
there was-
shifts.
I came home.
You went home to eat, or you, that you get for living too close. Never rode a bus, never had lunch at school, you went home.
Never was able to tip over in one of those buses. That was fun.
Well, it was an experience going up and down in those elevators.
Yes. It puts it, so now the Chazy children don't like to ride in elevators. I very few of them.
Well, that's because there was so much room between the landing of the elevator and the landing you were stepping out on. If you were feeling great, you could look down
Oh, you
5
see?
floors, 5 to 6 floors, and it was
Scary.
Wasn't big enough to put your foot in.
no,
Well,
but
they always had a teacher on guard there when you were
Yeah.
coming
But
down.
the wall, there weren't walls on the elevator. It was like a cage, and you could see the outside walls of the
Yeah.
elevator shaft.
Yeah.
When you went up, you just saw the
Yeah.
walls going by you, and then, like Paul said, you could see that if you were brave and looked down, it was very scary.
yeah.
I always tried to get in the
It
middle.
really put a fear of elevators into children.
Well,
No, it didn't
And
me.
then when you were up there, you could look out the lunchroom windows, which were I remember being low, and it wouldn't take much to fall out one of those windows.
you were up very high.
Board
The top.
across the windows.
Was that,
We're at the top.
is that the 5th floor? Way up in here, you
Well, it's
mean?
up in there. Yes.
Up in here, up in the
Yes.
gables, way up in here.
We were well supervised.
Oh,
Yes.
you
That's
were.
right.
Well supervised.
Yes, you
And I
were.
bet you no one threw much
No.
food on the walls at the CCRS. I
No,
guess
but you ate a lot of ants.
you ate ants?
Oh, so many ants in the, you get in your lunches, you know, and you'd open up your lunch and there'd be all these little red ants running
So-
around.
So did they serve food? Did you all bring your own lunches?
We,
It was given to you.
Yes.
That was just the very start, wasn't it?
yeah, but no, we brought our lunches when I was in school.
But
No,
were
I
there
mean
lunches if
soup,
you wanted them?
soup.
The soup was given to
Soup
you?
was given to you and you brought, and they had bread.
Kind of long ago.
A long while ago.
Miner also had his own power plant. This was the power plant that was right there within the building, I guess, or was it in the building adjoining? Do you remember?
They're all attached to
All
the same
attached.
building.
Main generator, storage battery rooms. This is different. This is just a school.
And they had, does it show the furnaces there? that
Yes.
they-
We're getting there, I guess. Here's the pump room and the storage tanks.
Mhm.
Look at all the piping. There's a steam generator, electric generator set. It looks as clean as the Chazy Orchard's power room back there. We were in there. I marvel at how clean Don and his, well, Don don't keep it that way. His crew keeps it that way. There you are, Don. Here's the heating, We're gonna take a short break here and we'll be right back. You're watching Hometown Cable and we're all excited and we're still going on. We're at CCRS Memory Day here in Chazy, New York. Bob Zen, Calvin Castine, and all these nice people. In the yearbook is a bird's eye view of the Chazy with the school over here, the Gray Gables over here. The underpass, this is the railroad, there was no underpass at this time, but this is not accurate because they never did build this oval. You see here it shows the oval. You're looking, this has to turn sideways. They never did build that, and this big building behind the school also was never built. They had a small building, but nothing like that at all. Right? He ran out of money. I wonder what it was, but park of 30 acres surround the school building. 2 small lakes, skating in the winter, ample space allotted to baseball, tennis, playground apparatus, but they never built that track back there. This is Chazy, how it looks, the Gray Gables, the river behind. But we were talking about abstract things as we were talking, and I asked somebody if they had ever gone to eat with Mrs. Miner at the farm, and I was corrected. Did you tell me?
We went to tea.
Tea. My sister told me, and I was thinking of meal, but it was tea. And how did that happen?
We were all as seniors. It was a privilege to be invited to her home for tea,
The class.
the whole class. And she served, her maid served the tea and cakes, tea cakes.
Did you all do that? Did you ever do it?
I did.
You didn't do it. Your class wasn't honored.
We went to Mrs. Inglis.
We went to Mrs. Inglis.
Oh,
We went to
oh.
Mrs. Inglis. We
Oh.
We didn't go to Mrs. Miner's.
Not to Mrs.
And if you were good enough there, she'd promote you to Mrs. Minor. Then you weren't good enough when you went.
That is something I never
heard of that.
You never heard of that?
No.
Did you ever go to? Never did.
I
you?
went to Mrs. Ingles.
You were. She had passed away by that time. But my sister in 1947.
Well, I was in 44.
Okay, she went to.
This is mine.
Yep, absolutely did. And it was great.
You got to meet her dog?
You tell us about meeting their dog.
I'm very afraid of dogs, and she had this beautiful big Sunnybank collie. And he comes in the room and walks around, and he sat on my feet. So Mrs. Ingles said, "You may now," Mrs. Miner said, "You may now go get your tea and cookies." And I didn't dare move. I was afraid the dog would bite me.
Younger generation.
Now,
So we didn't.
He wasn't ugly though, really. He was a
Yeah.
beautiful beast.
when you went to Mrs. Ingles,
Yeah.
Ingles.
where did she live?
Over here at the
At the Gables. Huh?
The annex.
Gables in what is known as the annex.
Annex.
Upstairs.
Were you frightened in any way when you went there for tea?
You respected her.
Well, yeah, but you can respect people without being frightened.
Well,
Well,
maybe a little.
Nervous, I should say. Well, you know you were nervous.
Yes.
Because if you did anything wrong, next day in school you're going to get punished. Like hold hands or anything?
We didn't hold hands.
You did hold hands at the tea.
She commanded your respect.
Yeah, she demanded it from you, didn't she? More than commanded, she demanded. Yeah. Was
She
she?
didn't hurt us.
No, but was she loved?
No.
She wasn't.
I think
Huh?
so.
No.
Was she good for you?
Good for me?
Yeah.
Yes, I think she was because I got a lot of stuff that I never would have had before.
Uh-huh.
I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, I know she was a tyrant. I really do, but I still respected the woman.
And you still do.
Yes, I do.
Well,
But of course, it's a generation gap thing.
yes. Yeah. Did she retire from here? What? How did she just?
Twice.
Twice. How could she do it twice, Matt?
She retired and came back.
She retired.
They demanded her back. The students demanded her to come back.
No,
Oh, they didn't.
not the students.
No, they had a principal. in here,
She
they said
retired in 38. And they had a woman principal,
Niemeyer.
Mrs. Niemeyer.
Miss Niemeyer, and she did not last a year. She was, I think she left by Christmas time. It was a very short time. And Miss Ramsdell,
Ramsdell took over after Wingate
oh,
died.
after Wingate. Now, that was-
Wingate
who
died
was
in the
it?
summer, and Ramsdell took over from September to January when Abby came in.
But I mean, after Mrs. Inglis retired, when Miss Niemeyer came, Mrs. Inglis came back then again.
That's right.
They said
Yeah,
that
that's what
Miss
she
Niemeyer
came
was a
as.
communist, and after she left, they got the Nazi back.
Well,
I have a
She
letter
was a
upstairs
lovely-
saying that.
she
Miss
wasn't.
Niemeyer
She was
was
a
very
tyrant. I
nice.
think that's the word that I've heard. But
She was a nice person.
Who?
Miss Niemeyer, and
Niemeyer,
the
okay.
other
Now,
principal they had.
She was railroaded out of here.
just think, Paul, as president of the board, Mr. Miner, before 1930, no one ever disagreed with him. I would think, on the board he owned the school. so to speak. You know, it must have been a different situation than it is at school boards now.
It was very difficult on the teachers, some of the teachers, under Mrs. Inglis too.
Mrs. Ingles, yes. Inglis.
Inglis, Inglis.
I don't remember when the Board of Education started to become a board of elected officials. They were appointed up until 1950s or early 60s, I think.
Is that right?
Oh, were they?
I think so.
Yeah, they're very close to a private school. All right, well, while we were talking, I just want to show you a couple more things before we get into general. They had their own laundry within the building. Very different. You know, main switchboard, heating and ventilating. Of course, they had the personnel to go with it, who could run these in, fix them, and operate them.
Of course, that laundry did the laundry at Great Gables.
I was wondering what they're going to do with that. Right. Not only that they didn't have tablecloths, they just used the marble. It was for Gray Gable. In addition to giving them in their apartment, they also cleaned their linen.
I think we've erred in saying that it wasn't just apartments. They also, the women teachers had a room there.
Yes.
They paid for their room and board.
Okay. The first part,
Single
I think,
teachers.
yes. I was talking with someone. This is the Gray Gables as it was originally, with the front building, the former District Number 1, with the dormers, and they took, I think there were 4 rooms, 2 up and 2 down, and they made them into, I think they said 4 apartments up and 4 apartments down, and that was for the single ladies, or the single teachers. I guess they were all ladies, weren't they? That.
Miss Bentrup had an apartment of her own way up on the top.
Mrs. Foreman.
And you actually left from the first building with a little corridor to go into the actual new building they put up behind it, with elevators in the building, of course, and so forth. And this was the dining room where the teachers were served their meal. You didn't have your own kitchen, I guess. You was served. And this was the dining room, living room combination. The Victrola here, and it looked like a hotel more than anything else. It was like
I think that the teachers paid $6.50 a week for their room and board.
Excellent board.
excellent board.
Oh, yes, the best.
We've been wanting to go through the building itself, and I forgot the man's name here now, and he was going to do it, but it got too cold in the year we were going to do it, and he's got a lot of material in the building that is hard to move around to give it justice, to see it as
They
it was.
each had their own private bag.
Yes,
For $6.50 a week.
If you're gonna do it with Fred, you
Their
better
beds were
allow
made.
all day.
yes, well, that's good in a way, because if he and I got together, it would probably take more than all day. This shows the elevation of the school, the different stories. North elevation, the west elevation, showing you what it looked like. This was all in the yearbook, remember. Now, this is not an architect, these are all. Here's the east elevation, and the cross sections of the rooms showing where the windows are, and the various things. This book had to really have been expensive. Here's the cross section again of the school. We won't go through it, all of it, but what you really should do is to ask any graduate of Chazy School if you can look at their yearbook if you're interested. Here's a layout, for instance, of the 3rd floor plan, showing the auditorium and where the different grades were located. And you all have your own books, you still have your own books of this, right? It's a cherished item, cherished. And they're still giving them. This is the different layout of the different interior works, showing the kinds of windows and scrolls over the doors that they wanted. Mr. Miner was very, what's the word I want? Intricate work he liked, huh? Very much
He
so.
could foresee the future.
He sure did. And he had the right kind of people working for him because he had the money to pay them. All right. About anything at all about the Chazy School you want to talk about? Nancy, just think of anything that you remember. What's the thing you remember most?
How beautiful it was.
How beautiful.
Walking in the main entrance and the big wide staircase, and the hallways were very wide. You were never crowded.
Are you familiar with education in other schools right now, today? At all? Or are you, Paul, in other schools? The comparison of what teaching you got here compared to other schools? You got I think you got that ability,
We know that we got a lot of tradition
tradition, for sure.
and pride in the school.
A lot of schools don't have that. Most schools, I think, high schools don't. Colleges, yes, but it's tough with. In this area, I think MAI, I'm not belittling any other school, but MAI always had a great tradition in Plattsburgh, and they really were forced to study. And when you went to MAI, it was a
Well, the
great place.
Christian brothers, you had to.
Well, you realize that over half of the brothers there were brothers of Mrs. Inglis? Did you know that? You know, I always thought her name was Ingalls.
No, it's Inglis.
Okay, Inglis. I've always said Ingles. It's Inglis.
There used to be a Mrs. Inglis who lived in the corner.
Did she ride the elevator with the students sometimes?
No, she had her own.
She had her own elevator?
There was a small elevator.
Yeah.
We used to get those keys once in a while too.
If you were ill or you had a broken leg, they would give you a key and you could ride the elevator. You could manage the elevator by yourself. A small, just a regular.
Her elevator? Oh, no,
It
different
wasn't
one.
her elevator.
Oh, another-
it was just a small elevator
that
that
she
could
used
be
to use?
that she could use, or
Yeah.
I was sick in my senior year and I got to use ride the elevator.
Uh-huh. It's a good reason to get sick, huh?
It's not
What's your best and most memorable separate ones?
I have one of Green Gables, the
Yeah.
teachers. My brother married one of the school teachers that taught at Chazy, and he used to go bear courting, and he could get just as far as the doors in the front, and as far as he could go.
Couldn't go inside.
No, unless that another teacher came with my sister-in-law before they were married, down to meet him. Then he could go up into that living room, it showed there, but that was far, and he couldn't carry anything up to her room.
That's a lot like it is at college dorms today.
Oh, yes.
What? You don't think so?
No, he couldn't, like, 'cause she had something to carry up to her room, and he could not carry it up to her room.
What's your most, it was like that the first year when my daughter went to Trinity. I couldn't bring her items up into her room. I couldn't go up on the floor. And the following year, anybody could go in her room, male and female, both could go.
Yeah.
1 year.
teach a Christmas party for the teachers over in Green Gables every year.
Were the teachers paid as much here as they were in the nearby schools at the time?
No idea.
I heard they weren't, but they got their free lodging and that was part of their contract.
But there was no compensation for those that didn't get free lodging.
They
Like
weren't paid-
yourself, for instance, who didn't get the lodging, you didn't get extra.
They weren't paid that great a salary. I think.
It's better to be a female, female marrying a male teacher than you are a male marrying a female teacher.
Yeah,
That's what it turned
I
out?
thought I had it made.
You thought you had it made? Well, you know what it started? When you start holding hands back in high school, walking on the, I think that's what killed you right in the beginning.
That's what she docked her.
Yeah, well, the only thing the only compensation, it wasn't your idea, right? It was her idea to hold hands.
Worked.
It was- what memories do you have? Anything you want to share with us? And the memories you can think of, or what?
They were all good. Had a lot of fun.
Anything special you can remember? That maybe you wouldn't find in a normal school because of the architecture. Did you get kidded because when you went with ties to other places?
No.
No?
Oh, we didn't wear a tie all the time. We always had to wear a tie and a coat for Fridays.
Or representing the school when you went anywhere?
We never went anyplace.
You never went anyplace? There was nothing to...
But I mean, for the assembly programs, everybody had to wear a coat and tie for the programs. I don't know if I guess everybody did. I was going to say, I know the ushers all had to, but.
We all got all dressed up for
Yeah.
Friday's
Used to
assembly.
dress up for Fridays, I think.
Yes.
More.
What do you think? What do you remember? Except Mac.
I just liked it.
That's all, you
I
liked
had
it?
no objections to being in school. I liked school.
You know, we really didn't know anything different.
I realize that.
And it was just good school to go to and always
Uh-huh.
never thought of it going anyplace else.
Good curriculum.
Were there a lot of guests that came to see the school because of its nature? From out of state or anything like that you can recall? You would know probably better.
Well, not that I know, no, not a lot of them, no.
No?
not
you-
when I was around.
You know, in Swanton, they got the round pods for a school. They get a lot of guests over there. You ever been over to Swanton? They have round buildings. I think there's 4 round buildings with concentric classrooms.
Can't catch you.
Huh?
The devil can't catch
That's
you.
right. You keep going around in circles over there. But it's really very intriguing type of a thing.
But you know, I think we all had a certain amount of pride, though.
Yeah, we
I
did.
mean, if we had anybody come, I mean, I'm still doing it. If anybody comes, I gotta take them around town and show them what was what, the best I can and all like that, because you're proud of where you work, where you were brought up, and talk about the school and all like that. I think there's a lot of pride in it.
What do you remember when you were in school, not as an employee, but as a
As a
student?
student.
Yeah.
I really have good memories. I know some of them I didn't like, but I still am very happy that I had the opportunity to be a student of that school.
You have brothers and sisters?
I have 3 sisters.
They all went to school here?
They
too?
all went to school there, and we graduated from there. And
Uh-huh.
I mean, I can see some faults, but I can also see some awful good things too.
What about leaving and then come back as an employee like both of you did? What memories do you have of that?
I thought when I left I'd never come back, but I did, and I had, yeah.
I was proud to come back.
You were proud to come back?
I
Where'd you go to school?
Plattsburgh State.
Plattsburgh State? Was Plattsburgh State, wasn't the normal school at that time? I don't know when it came to Plattsburgh State.
No, I got in on Plattsburgh State. I
Plattsburgh
think the
State.
normal school was the year before I got.
Was it that, so I didn't want to age you, but I didn't know, when,
And well, I'm very proud. I organized the first kindergarten over here in school.
there were no kindergartens before.
That's why you got those cots and those blankets.
Uh-huh.
Oh, well,
Thank
thank
you
you.
very much.
She organized the first one in Champlain, too.
You did.
I taught kindergarten in the old Methodist church.
All right, let's take a short break, give Calvin a little rest. We'll be right back. We'll talk about what you just talked about, and also a little bit about maybe Class Day, because it's a tradition that other schools don't have in this county, I'm sure. And we'll be right back. Thanks for watching.
Does
Hometown
anybody
Cable.
want any?
My name is Bob Ben. I'm finally going to get my way. We're going to talk a little bit about Class Day in CCRS. What is Class Day? Who's going to tell me? The latest one. Nancy, you're the newest graduate. What is Class Day? What is it now? And we'll find out what it was before. What is
Well-
Class Day at CCRS?
It's a time when our class would give our class colors and our motto and everything to the upcoming class, which would be 4 years before us, our sister class. You had a day where you would sing songs, and it was just a day where everybody got together, and the class, it was the memories that you had through the past of the school. And each student would have a saying, each student, we had, I'm pretty sure we did a video, and it was just a time to remember the good times at school.
This is in the auditorium?
Everybody, you dressed
Dressed up.
very formal.
The prophecies and the class will.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I heard it was
Are you
even
doing yours?
as important as graduation for the class. It was probably even more of a,
Yeah.
It
It
was,
was-
it was the class's day.
It
it was the class's day.
It was for the
Yes.
students.
Oh, right, and we all planted a tree. Each class would plant
Plant a
one
tree?
tree.
You have a
And
band.
our tree it's the small evergreen right up in front of this new school in the wing. It was, this high now. It's way over the top of the school.
Does it have any, you don't put a plaque on
They
it?
have a
or-
band.
I've got the
You do?
band
You
from
do?
our class
Yeah?
at home. It's made out of copper and had all of our names on it. And it was supposed to be like with a spring behind it so that as the tree grew, but it was found in the dump and I've got it now.
Found it in a dump. I find that
Terrible.
disgusting
Yes.
to throw away something that has meaning like this. I just get very uptight about that. I really do. Paul, what do you remember about your class day? Anything special?
I remember class day being very exciting. What I remember more though is walking by the auditorium when I was in junior high, when class day was going on and the doors were open because it was hot. It was in June, and I was walking down the hall for some reason between classes or during a class, and class day was going on, and I wasn't in a high enough grade to be in the auditorium. Just hearing the goings on and just being impressed by how quiet the audience was, and just being impressed by the formality.
It's a pride day for sure.
Yeah,
Pride day.
It's a time of tradition,
right.
and it was carried through from one year to the next.
Now, I'm not sure I understand. You give your class to the 8th grade that's coming into freshman,
Right.
not to the junior.
No.
No.
I just understood. I always thought it was a junior. No?
No, it's-
You give it to that 8th
You
grade.
give
have
your
a charge
class-
to the
You
juniors.
give your colors to
You
them.
give your class colors
So, right.
too. Because there's 4 class colors, purple and white, red and white, blue and white, and gold and white. That's each class has their own as they come through. So if you graduate with red and white, you give your red and white colors to the 8th
And the
grade.
flag.
And your flag, and your banner,
Tradition, real tradition,
Really?
yeah.
so that they would have it, and as they came up, they would return it. So there's generally 4 classes on a banner.
We talked, I remember we were talking with Lucille Zarneski, that a lady in town was given a little tea set by Mr. Miner, and gave it back. And there's somebody here at the table who was given something by Mr. Miner, I understand. And I won't say who, but who was that, Mac? What did you get?
I got a teddy bear.
You got a teddy bear, huh?
I still got it.
At a Christmas party or something?
And I got my building blocks. No, Mr. Miner always had a Christmas party for all of his employees. And they used to go up to Harmony Hall, which is torn down now, and had the Christmas party. And all the employees' children got a present. I've got a big book, Little Folks of Other Lands. And I got my teddy bear, and my building blocks.
And you had that teddy bear to go to bed with up until a certain day in your life?
What do you mean? I still
You-
get it.
Well, then there's 3, and it's a big. You have a king size bed for the 3 of you now. Anything else about the
His
school?
blocks were.
The blocks
I mean,
too?
they were very interesting. A beautiful box that they're in, and cover, and then the blocks are very beautifully made and colored. And I think that's unusual for to keep anything to.
Yeah. Did your son play with those later on?
No,
Never?
they were mine.
They were yours, and you still got them.
Yep. Cold winter nights I play with them.
I think I'd like to go home.
If this looks like a relaxed group for you people watching this out there, well, I guess we are. But in closing, I want to thank all you people for coming. And Grace has left us. She had to have an appointment, and we've kind of extended this out. And I hope we haven't kept you too long. But this room is going to be very, very important to all the people of the area, not only Chazyans. That's why you say that, Chazyans? But anybody else who wants history will be in this room right here in the very front of this former Methodist church. You are the historian. Will it be open on a regular basis?
I'm going to try to.
You'll have a
Yeah.
certain day, certain hour.
Yes, yes.
And you invite people to come, and no matter whether they're from Chazy, town of Chazy or not. Huh?
I hope to have displays out
Right.
underneath the glass, most of it.
Yeah. There's a lot of things out there, folks, that you have. Don't throw anything away. Had anything to do with Chazy. I'm sure you'd be very glad to accept it, and you can throw it away or give it to me, one or the other.
No, I won't throw it away.
There you go.
I'm the original pack rat.
There you go.
And I'm also promoting the history of the town of Chazy. These books are non-existent, and if we have enough interest, we will reprint them and we'll be backed by the town of Chazy. And we hope there's 360 pages, and I have already 100 on my list.
That want them.
Yes.
By the way, they sold one of these at Helen McCrae's auction in Champlain, and I thought it would probably go for $15 or $20. Was it $65 it went for?
They're sell for 125 if you can find them.
$125
We
now,
hope
folks.
to be between $20 and $25, we hope, which is all
Yep.
the original price of the
Yep.
book.
There's a lot of information in here about, by 2 very important people. Neil Jane Barnett Sullivan, who was the
Nell.
Nell, I beg your pardon, Nell.
Barnett
She
Sullivan.
was
The original historian.
historian, and the person that many of you people had contact with, David Kendall Martin, the English teacher
Yes.
here at CCRS, and also one of the people who did a story with us on his trip to China. Met Mr. and Mrs. Martin at their house, and we enjoyed it very, very much. And so they would contact you at home or here or how?
Home 846-7707.
Say that again.
846-7707.
There you go.
The original Chazy Secret Agents.
Or drop you a note. Or drop you a note, right?
Drop me a note.
The
Chazy Historian.
Chazy Historian. And get your name on because you'll know how many to print that way.
Well, the pre-publication price will be cheaper than the post-publication
Okay.
price.
And there'll be just so many made. It'll be identical? Just
They
reprinted?
have to be identical for permission to be reprinted.
Okay. All right, so that's about it. Anybody else have anything in closing? Thank you very, very much. We
Well,
appreciate
thank you for inviting us. We really enjoyed telling about our school.
I'm
that we
sure
all
you
loved.
do. And someday, we hope that when you get all settled in here, maybe we can get back and do a little story about Chazy in general, with all the artifacts you'll have
You're all
here.
invited back.
There you are, all can be invited back. And I'll listen more that day that I talk, and I'll even take bigger breaks, Calvin. Calvin Castine with the camera. I'm Bob Venn. Program's called What's Going On Here? Every Sunday at 1 o'clock, 4:30, 8 p.m., midnight, and 8 the following morning. You can get this program. It's on every day for other programs that Calvin had. And those times are very important because that's when you're going to see it. To send a check to Hometown Cable at $14.77 and become a patron, you can send it at any hour you want. And it'll be delivered at just 1 hour each day to Calvin out there, and he'll be so happy to get it, to keep this kind of program and other things that take his money, his time, and his efforts. Become a patron and show him that you